Under the bright lights of Las Vegas, where legends rise and empires fall, the boxing world gathered to witness a moment heavy with destiny. On one side of the ring stood Saul Canelo Alvarez, Mexico's pride, the pound-for-pound king, a fighter who carved his name into the pages of history with ferocity, precision, and an unbreakable will. Tonight, he wasn't just stepping into a ring, he was attempting to conquer a new mountain. The WBA Light Heavyweight Championship hung in the balance, a crown far above the division where he once reigned supreme. On the opposite side stood Dmitry Bivol, a man of quiet discipline and dangerous calm. The undefeated Russian champion carried not just a belt around his waist, but the reputation of a technician, efficient, tactical, and unforgiving. His demeanor was cold, controlled, and focused, the hallmark of a fighter who understood that greatness rarely announces itself, it is displayed. As ring announcers echoed through the arena and cameras zoomed in on their unblinking eyes, the atmosphere tightened like a drum. The crowd waited, not for violence, but for answers. Was this the night Canelo Alvarez would cement himself as one of the greatest to ever lace gloves? Or was it the night the silent champion from Russia would expose the limits even the best fighters carry within? The referee brought them together. Protect yourself at all times, he warned. They touched gloves, but the gesture felt less like respect and more like a spark, igniting a battle that would test pride, skill, and the very essence of championship quit. From the opening bell, Bivol revealed exactly why he was the undefeated master of the light heavyweight domain. His jab snapped out with the consistency of a metronome, sharp, crisp, relentless. Each one wasn't just a punch, it was a barrier, a reminder that Canelo was entering deeper waters where size, reach, and discipline ruled. Canelo, traditionally a patient starter, began slower than usual, measuring, stalking, searching for the rhythm he always finds. But Bivol refused to let him settle. The Russian champion backed Canelo up with subtle steps, maintained distance with unwavering control, and never allowed the Mexican icon to anchor his feet long enough to unload those signature counters. When Canelo dipped low to target the body, Bivol fired straight combinations, clean 1-2s that sliced right down the line. The crowd erupted every time Canelo landed something meaningful, an uppercut, a thudding hook to the arm. But even those successes carried a price. Bivol's defense was airtight, absorbing shots on his gloves, forearms, and shoulders with the discipline of a veteran who'd spent his life inside this exact game plan. Analysts at ringside began whispering, "This isn't the Canelo who overwhelms opponents. This is Canelo being kept at bay." Bivol's strategy was clear: volume, distance, and precision. Every jab was another brick in the wall he was building, a structure meant to frustrate Canelo, drain his patience, force desperation. Yet Canelo never looked panicked. He kept pressing, kept trying, kept searching for the crack. What neither man yet knew was that this fight wasn't just technical. It was becoming psychological, a test of who could force the other out of character first. As the fight drifted into the middle rounds, the arena crackled with energy and tension. Canelo, sensing urgency, began to dig harder into his punches, uppercuts ripping through the guard, hooks slamming onto Bivol's arms with the kind of power that breaks lesser fighters. But Bivol wasn't a lesser fighter. He absorbed the storm with a calm exterior, stepping back at just the right moments, circling off the ropes, never allowing himself to become stationary long enough for Canelo to detonate the perfect shot. When Canelo did land clean, the crowd roared as though witnessing a tide turning. But Bivol always fired back, never one punch at a time, but in combinations, quick flurries that regained control instantly. His jab became the compass of the fight, guiding every exchange. Canelo grew visibly frustrated. He tried feints, he tried head movement, he tried walking Bivol down with power, but the champion's discipline never wavered. He kept the fight exactly where he wanted it. Mid-range, controlled, methodical. And then came the sequences that silenced even the most confident Canelo supporters. Bivol landing 4 clean shots in a row, then pointing at his gloves as if to say, "Look, he cannot hurt me." It wasn't disrespect, it was certainty. The kind of certainty only an undefeated champion possesses when everything in his game plan is unfolding with surgical precision. By this point, commentators began scoring the rounds for Bivol. They weren't blowouts, but they were consistent, controlled, undeniable. Canelo wasn't fading yet, but for the first time in years, he was being outworked, outboxed, outfought. The fight's momentum had quietly tilted, firmly, toward the man in red and gold. Entering the championship rounds, the weight of the challenge began to show on Canelo's face. His breathing deepened. His arms, once explosive pistons of power, showed signs of fatigue. Each time he pressed forward, Bivol met him with the same disciplined fire, jabs to the face, jabs to the chest, 1-2s that kept Canelo honest, and sharp flurries that made judges take notice. Canelo tried everything, pivoting angles, loading up on right hands, swinging hooks that could end a fight with a single connection. But Bivol's guard was an iron curtain. The Russian champion anticipated, blocked, slipped, and countered with a confidence that made the impossible look routine. Canelo's strategies began widening. He targeted the arms, trying to deaden Bivol's weapons. He lunged with looping hooks. He attempted to lure Bivol into exchanges. But Bivol refused the bait. This was discipline at its purest, never giving the crowd the firefight they craved, only the performance he came to deliver. Between rounds, concern shadowed Eddie Reynoso's face. The corner urged Canelo to dig deeper, but even legends have limits. Canelo's punches no longer had the same electricity. His reactions slowed, his gas tank thinned. Meanwhile, Bivol looked steady, fresh, unshaken. He pressed forward now, confidence rising, understanding fully that he was within reach of the greatest victory of his career. The crowd sensed it too. The upset was no longer a possibility. It was becoming a reality. For one of the first times in his modern career, Canelo Alvarez was being controlled, step by step, by a man who simply refused to give him the fight he wanted, or needed, to survive. The 12th round arrived like the last stretch of a long war. Canelo, bruised, exhausted, yet undeniably proud, marched forward with every ounce of heart he possessed. He knew the truth. He needed something big, not just a moment, but a miracle. A knockdown, perhaps even a knockout. The Mexican warrior threw with desperation now, wide hooks meant to break through the barricade. He pressed aggressively, chin tucked, teeth clenched, but Bivol, composed as ever, stayed within his rhythm. Every time Canelo lunged, Bivol responded with clean, sharp combinations. Not wild, not reckless, just disciplined and precise. Enough to score, enough to remind everyone who had controlled this fight from the opening bell. Canelo landed one of his best shots of the night early in the round, a sweeping right hand that cracked across Bivol's guard. The crowd erupted, believing for a split second that momentum had shifted. But Bivol didn't step back. He stepped forward, punching in combination, pushing Canelo onto the ropes with the volume that had defined his dominance all night. Canelo tried again, another hook, another desperate surge. But his legs weren't with him. His stamina wasn't with him. And Bivol? He was still fresh, still calculating, still painting a masterpiece built on fundamentals. As the final seconds ticked down, Bivol raised his hands mid-exchange, not in mockery, but in triumph. He knew, everyone knew. The final bell rang, and for the first time in years, Canelo Alvarez didn't look like the man who won the fight. He looked like the man who gave everything, and met someone who had more. The fighters returned to their corners, gloves resting on the ropes, breathing deeply as the judges prepared their scorecards. The crowd, once roaring with certainty, now murmured with unease. They had just witnessed something rare. Canelo Alvarez pushed to his limits, controlled, neutralized, and beaten at his own game. The ring announcer stepped forward, envelope in hand, the air thick with anticipation. Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the judges' scorecards. All three tallies were identical, 115-113. A close margin, but a clear verdict. For your winner, by unanimous decision, and still the undefeated WBA light heavyweight champion of the world. The arena held its breath. Dmitry Bivol, the Russian champion, raised his arms, not with arrogance, but with pride. The pride of a man who executed the perfect plan against one of the greatest fighters of this era. Canelo accepted the result with the humility of a true warrior, nodding, embracing his opponent, acknowledging that tonight belonged to someone else. In that moment, Bivol didn't just retain his title, he carved his name into history. He outboxed the face of boxing. He silenced the doubters. He proved that discipline, fundamentals, and unwavering composure can stand tall even against the most explosive of legends. As the cameras closed in on Bivol's calm, satisfied expression, fans around the world understood that they had witnessed more than an upset. They had witnessed a masterclass. And in the glow of the arena lights, two truths echoed. Great champions rise, but even greater champions remind the world that no throne is safe, not even for Canelo Alvarez.